So we ended up 3-bet shoving this, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah, we did
it just does not have
an IC analyzer analysis of this.
Yeah, it really just doesn't have good equity when we're all in versus pretty much anything really. Like even something like 10-8 is going to be close to 50% against it. So we really don't have good equity when we're called. We're nearly always sort of behind. And you probably just aren't min raising enough, and you probably just min raise calling too wide for this to be a jam. So
yeah,
I think sort of suited hands, even stuff like 7-5 suited, it's going to be like a ton more profitable to 3-bet shove here than Queen 2 off. So I think it's probably
also 7-5 suited is dominated a lot less by my min raise call range than Queen 2 off.
Yeah, so I think Queen 2 off probably should just be a fold.
Yep. So I elected to open jam this hand, which is probably not my standard. My standard is probably to min raise or limp, but I think that you will fold a lot of better hands, such as the one you had here, like King 8. I kind of just knew that from like previous discussions, from like sweating you and talking strategy and everything, that you're more inclined to fold these hands. So yeah. I don't know. I just thought you'd be folding a lot.
The stack depth is also, it's 11.5 big blind, so that just hasn't updated yet. So I think it's pretty hard to call King 8 for 11.5 big blinds, just because villain can have so many ace-x in their range. Pocket pairs we don't do that well against. We're always behind against pocket pairs, so I think we just don't have the equity to call versus the average shoving range at 11.5 big blinds. If you start throwing a ton of hands like this in there, if you start shoving like your 4-3 suited type hands, it probably does become closer to a call, but it is quite hard to say. And versus your average villain, I'm always folding this, just because, I mean, your average sort of 50s, 100s villain isn't going to be shoving 4-3 suited as standard here.
Yeah.
Or 9-7 off for that matter. So pocket 7s, I think there has to be a min raise to induce. You're just going to be 3-bet shoving so light that we can just min raise call us really easily, and it's going to be more profitable than an open shove.
Yep, I agree with that, and I think my flat is pretty standard. 10-9.
Yeah, it plays well. It plays well on,
but it doesn't play that well shoved against your min raise call range at 12 bigs.
Yep. So I checked the flop back, which is, I think it's pretty standard on this sort of board, just because it hits.
Yeah, I mean, I just crushed this board so hard.
On the turn, so you elected to.
I decided to check here because I think, firstly, you have an ace a decent amount if you min raise it pre, and you know that I never have an ace here, so I think you're going to delay c-bet this card a lot.
Yeah. So that was my reasoning. I figured that you never have an ace here because all of your ace-x is obviously 3-bet shove pre-flop. So I think your range actually is quite weak here. I ended up turning my hand into a bluff here. I think we can definitely fold out 9x, 10x by the river.
Yep.
Not sure
I think the important thing here is you have to be ready to barrel the river.
I am, yeah. I'm definitely ready to barrel the river. I think we can also get a lot of floats from stuff like Jack X that will float with the open ender. King X type hands that will probably float versus 1-bet, but they'll have to fold the river without improvement. So I think you definitely have a ton of hands in your range that will fold the river with that improvement. And if I can get stuff like 9x and 10x to fold, that's more than enough to make turning this hand into a bluff profitable.
Yep, I definitely agree with all of that. So I check call just to let you continue with the bluffs. The river, even though it gives me a boat, is actually a pretty bad card, just because it just hits my perceived range way too much. And even though you do check 10x on the flop, you probably don't bet it on this turn.
Yeah, and it's really hard for me to bluff now when 10x just hits your range so hard. So
yep, exactly.
At this stage, you just have to give up on your hand. And I mean, there will be quite a few rivers that I won't be able to bluff. This is obviously one of them, and 9 won't be able to bluff. And most likely a queen as well. So yeah, there's definitely a few.
I probably wouldn't bluff a queen in your spot either.
But when we get rivers like just even like a blank deuce, you know, any sort of low card, I think we should be fine to just jam the river and pick up a ton of folds.
I also think 4 straight rivers are pretty good for you to bluff, because I'm just going to have so many 1 per hands.
Yeah.
A lot of my hand, like I'm not going to check all the turn with many straight draws unless they're pair plus straight draws. I think.
So I decided just to flat this. I think it does play pretty well post flop. Obviously it's suited. Jamming is going to be plus EV as well, but I think flatting might be slightly better in this situation.
So I elect to underbet on this flop. I think it's pretty reasonable because at short stacks you can still threaten to get the money in by underbetting, where compared to deeper it's not as good. And I think it just generally, it doesn't affect your range at all. You might peel like slightly wider with like Jack 8 that you might fold the half pot or something. I don't know, you probably wouldn't fold that. But I just think it's generally, we need like 27% folds instead of 33. And given that this board is actually like, I think that your folding amount is actually probably somewhere around there as well. Because I think your flatting range between like 15 to 20 hits this board pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean I will have a lot of Queen X, 9X and stuff like Jack 10, obviously.
Yep. I mean, I think maybe checking back could be the correct play for me on the flop.
Yeah, so I do hit it a reasonable amount, but I guess there's still 8-7 type hands that are just going to fold. And even stuff like King High isn't going to be the easiest, depending on whether I have that or not, if I haven't 3-bet shoves it. It's on the turn.
Turn spot's really interesting. I elected to jam, and I don't know, it's really kind of weird. I chose to jam basically because it seems too obvious to jam with a flush draw.
This just comes down to the dynamic.
I thought that you'd be more likely to make a fold with 9x, which is by far your most likely hand in this spot when you flat pre-check call the flop.
So it's pretty much just leveling again.
Yeah, it's kind of just a leveling spot.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of the thing with this dynamic. Like a lot of plays really are non-standard in regular games, but
yeah,
against
like
each
if I was
other,
in your spot,
it's just not a dimension.
Like, and some reg like jams in this spot, I would just like snap call so hard. But I don't know. I think against me, because we kind of just have this like long history from just talking to each other for so long or whatever, that you know it just seems like so obvious to jam with a flush draw here that you think I might be doing it with like a queen for value or something.
Yeah. Well, it just turns into one sort of long leveling fest by the end of it. I just chose to fold here. I think you do. You probably would make this play with the queen at decent percentage of the time from what I guessed in game. So, I mean, there's not that many draws you can have here. 6, 7, 8.
There's a fair few. There's there's King Jack stuff. There's Jack 10. There's flush draws.
Jack
6,
10,
7.
There's quite a few, but
yeah, there's a lot of draws actually.
You also do have a lot of Queen X combos. I think you pretty much raise all Queen X combos.
Yeah.
So you can have a ton of value here. I'd probably think maybe slightly more value than draws, so I ended up folding.
Plus, a lot of the draws actually play pretty sweet against you. Like a lot of them actually have like 2 overs and then 8 or 9 outs.
Yeah,
on top
true.
of that.
This is a good flop for me. I'm obviously trying to c-bet half pot. On drier boards here, I might c-bet. I might underbet the pot a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean, I think quite wet,
it would
so
be completely fine in your spot to bet bigger. I think that if I was playing a random, I think against me it's probably more important to not have really obvious sizing tells. However, I think that versus a random person you should be betting bigger on this flop because it just smacks their range in the big blind so much.
Yeah.
And because it hits my range so much, I think you're not c-betting it light. Thus, I don't think I should check raise or check shove with my hand. I think I'd just be basically just. I don't think you c-bet very much air at all here, and I think that the air hands you c-bet aren't really air. They're most like draws and stuff. So I think in my spot, really check calling is the only play.
So on the turn, I'm really just looking to set up a river shove here. So I just want to bet a reasonable size that will. He might still call his draws to it, but without being over the top.
Yeah, you should just mostly focus on getting value from my pair plus draws
It is
and
really just
setting
about
up a
getting
river
value
shove.
on the turn and setting up a reasonable river shove. So I don't want to bet something stupid like 420 here, which just leaves me like betting under half pot on the river.
Yeah, I mean, also I think that
two-thirds pot.
if you did bet with a draw or something, this is actually a really reasonable spot for you to 3-barrel, because I'm going to call the turn with a lot of pair plus draws. You obviously have the stronger range. You can have all your King X combos. You can have stuff like Ace Queen that I can't have. So I think it's a very reasonable spot for you to be bluffing as well.
Yeah.
Which is why you should keep your turn sizing smaller, so you can bluff the river.
And this is,
I think you set up stacks here really well.
And this is a great river for me, just because with the hand I have, I mean, every draw is pretty much busted. Well, apart from the jackie on the turn, I mean, every flush draw I could have had, or 9x, is all missed. So it's a spot where I will have busted draws, and I just hope that you'll call King X because of that, and maybe even worse sometimes.
I think I don't have a ton of King X, so like a lot of it will
a lot of it's
really bet yourself pre. Some of it might check raise the flop, you know. But I mean, you obviously just shove there and just hope I hear a call. I decided to fold just because, I mean, I just think your range is just too strong there. I just don't think you have enough bluffs in your range. I mean, I don't know. I just think you're not saving that.
I think I would have. I think I do have quite a few same bluffs in my range here that have missed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, a lot of them are hands like Queen 4 that would bet the turn, but like they wouldn't bet the flop. Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I assume you wouldn't bet the flop with Queen 4 here, would you?
Probably not.
Yeah, so like I think that just like severely cuts down like so many of your combos of like semi bluffs. Well, so, I mean, I'm really happy with my fold there.
The fact that you even admitted that you don't have as many kings in this spot probably makes it an even better bluff spot for me. If your range is so weak, I mean, you're going to be folding a ton of the time.
Yes, that is true, but also like it's kind of just harder for you to get to the river with bluffs because of the flop, in my opinion, with this stack depth.
Yeah. Alright, so I'll move on.
So this is kind of interesting. Well, not that interesting, but it's kind of a close spot between raising, limping, and open folding. I mean, my hand's obviously not great. The problem is, like, if I min-raise, I don't expect you to play, like, really tight against a min-raise or anything. You probably jam a fair few hands still, just because I think that you know that I min-raise pretty wide, wider than most at shorter stacks. Limping, I expect you to just shove. Like, I don't know, I think you'll probably shove here with Jack 4 suited. And, so limping is obviously not great either. I think open folding is honestly the best play.
Yeah.
Did you shove here with Jack 4?
I guess you gave me too much credit because I just checked back.
Oh really?
I think it's reasonable to shove because you do have a lot of sort of weak hands in your limping range. I do expect you to have hands like aces, kings, queens, jacks, all in your limping range as well. But I think that's just a relatively small percentage compared to all the to all the sort of like jack 7 off type hands that you'll be limping.
Yep.
So I think this is probably going to be a profitable shove if I make it. And the problem with checking back is that we get in spots like this where we can't do anything really.
Yeah.
So that's obviously an easy stab for you, and just take it down.
Yep.
Ace 6 suited, it could be possibly a min raise to induce, but again, I don't think you're going to be shoving like insanely wide. Maybe
I also think that
Maniacs.
I'm going to flat with a lot of hands that play pretty well against you.
Yeah, that's true as well. So versus Maniacs, someone who's shoving maybe like over 40% here, I think min raising is going to be fine and best. But I think your 3-bet shoving is reasonable but not crazy, so open shoving is just going to be the best play because we really don't want to play this post flop.
Yep. Jack 2 again. I mean, I'm pretty happy just open folding this depth. I'm not sure if I do. Yeah. I think 8-5 is definitely a better hand to limp than Jack 2 though.
Yeah, it definitely has more playability.
So here you limp.
I chose to limp with
I've the min raise calling in your spot.
I think it is close to a min raise call, but I don't think you're going to be. I mean, I've admitted that you're going to be 3-bet shoving a reasonable amount, but I don't think it's going to be insane. We're only 11.5 big blinds deep, so as a result of that, my min raising range is going to be tighter, and therefore your 3-bet shoving range is going to be tighter if you adjust, which I assume you would. So I just sort of think that Queen 9 off is going to be quite quite marginal to min raise call. I think it'd be quite close.
Yeah, I mean, you only need like 41%.
But I don't mind limping it. I think we can limp it and play it in position reasonably well. It does play well post flop.
I think the problem is I'm just going to jam with so many hands. I'm just jamming with like Jack 4 suited and stuff like that a ton here. That you obviously, I mean, maybe against me limp calling this would be correct.
Yeah,
I don't know. I jam here a ton.
I didn't recognise that you'd be shoving hands like Jack 4. I expect you to shove Ace X, King X, and sort of pocket pairs. But if I had have known you were shoving sort of Jack 4 type hands, I think it does turn into either a min raise call or even a limp call. But yeah. I think I just assumed you at the time just to be shoving maybe Ace X, King X, and pairs. So I limp folded as a result. This is also a standard endgame.
Yeah. Not really time to talk about in one tabling spots. Here I min raise with intentions on min raise folding. I think gameflow wise is pretty good in that I've been limping and folding a lot of my buttons so far.
Yeah.
I mean, Queen 6 is not great limped. I mean, it's not bad limped, but it's not great limped, and also it's too weak to open fold, really. Unless I know that you're jamming like super wide.
Yeah.
I think your jam here is super wide, to be honest, at 11 bigs.
Yeah, it's a pretty. I think this is a marginal jam just because your min raising range is gonna be tighter. So I'm
min raise calling hands like Queen 8 and Queen 9 here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Queen 2
you probably wouldn't, which makes it a bit worse.
Is a jam.
I think it's probably plus EV though, because like the shorter you get, the less folds you need. Like shoving.
I mean, we don't need many folds here, and I think you do still fold hands like maybe 9, maybe your weaker stuff like you would min raise Queen 2, Queen 3, those sort of hands.
Also, you can value shove this against me a little bit. I'd min raise call like Jack 10 stuff.
Yeah.
In this spot.
I mean, it is suited, so it does get a bit of additional equity.
Yeah.
I think it might still be. I think it's very close.
Yeah, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Can't really fault it that much.
I mean, it really is a very opponent dependent 3-bet shoving, especially at sort of 11 big blinds. I mean, versus
I think against like the vast majority of people at basically all turbo heads up sit and goes, but especially like hundreds and stuff, that's a really bad jam. But I think against me, I mean, it's pretty fine.
And you always have to have that in mind.
I haven't min raised a ton in this game, mostly because you know that I min raise really wide at short stacks. I think that you still should assume that I am min raising pretty wide.
Yeah, I do agree. I think against nearly anyone that's going to be bad shove, just because people won't be raising enough 11 big blinds, and I mean that's probably a reasonable assumption to make. So I'd probably just fold that against nearly anyone. But just the history I've had makes me more inclined to 3-bet jam that.
Yep.
Alright, sorry, so 9-5 suited, it was an ash jam for about 14 big blinds, so that's obviously fine.
So I'm assuming you open jam here.
Yeah.
Queen 10. Queen 8. You could min raise call as well. I'm in a flat, decent amount of worse hands.
Yeah.
And you obviously have the equity to call.
Around 10.5 big blinds, I think. Like
9.5 bigs, whatever.
It's going to be fine to open shove, and like min raise calling it, it's probably fine, but like, how many worse hands are you going to be shoving?
No, it's not really how many worse I'm shoving, it's mostly just the flatting.
Yeah.
It's worse like, there's a lot of hands like 10-8 that I'll fold to a shove, but I could flat to a min raise. And I think I should flat to a min raise. Which is why, generally, I would min raise call those hands like Queen 8 there at 10 bigs. King 4 though,
yeah,
I don't think.
It just doesn't play as well post flop, sorry, so.
Yeah, and you're not like, nothing that you dominate is going to like flat it's basically just hands like 10-9 or flat that just play really good against you anyway. Same thing with ace queen, really.
Alright, so that was just about the end of our first game. We have a second game that we would like to review as well, but I think this recording is getting pretty long now. So we'll wrap this one up here. We'd appreciate any comments, just let us know what you thought about having the cards overlaid. So I think it worked out alright. Anything from you, Jake?
No, not really. Just let us know if you would like to see part 2 of the second game.
Alright, thanks guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching.